Hey everyone, I want to welcome you to Hutcast. Hutcast is a pragmatic approach to several things that happen in life and happen around us. So tune in, check us out. If you like us, give us a thumbs up to Hutcast. Today on Hutcast, we have Sean, Brad, and Dr. Isaac from the Magnus Veterans Foundation. Magnus Veterans Foundation is established in Dayton, Minnesota. They have some pretty exciting news for you veterans and families of veterans. Stay tuned. Hutcast will be live shortly. In today's busy world, staying healthy and alert have become essential for those of us who want to get the most out of ourselves. So before you reach for that energy drink, ask yourself, are you really giving your body the best? If you want the energy without the jitters that commonly come from today's most popular energy drinks, then reach for something better. Reach for Super Fuel. Super Fuel is made by Casmo Incorporated. Super Fuel is a healthy boost. Super Fuel is made with vitamins B6, B12, and taurine, that is a amino acid that aids in weight loss and protects heart tissue. Beetroot powder and other healthy ingredients that will give you a quick, healthy boost. Make Super Fuel a great tasting, low-calorie addition to your daily regimen. Super Fuel by Casmo Incorporated. It can be ordered by visiting our website at www.superfuel.me or calling 833-383-5912. That's right, Super Fuel by Casmo Incorporated at www.superfuel.me or calling 833-383-5912. Super Fuel. Okay, we are live at Hutcast with Sean. Sean is from Magnus Veterans Foundation. Sean, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, hey, great to be here. Thanks for having me here today. I'm a family physician. I have just retired from the Army after 31 years, during which time I spent most of my time in the Special Forces. I was enlisted as a Special Forces operator turned doctor, and then spent the rest of my career taking care of Special Forces soldiers and their families.
I see. And with this Special Forces, were you seeing a lot of trauma during this situation?
Oh yeah. So in the military, in the Army, when you're a unit physician, also called a unit surgeon, you deploy with them. So you go to the locations they're at, and you're with them throughout those operations. So, of course, unfortunately, over these last 20 or so years, there's been some trauma associated with that.
Mm-hmm. And what's your role in this? Because we kind of know that you are the big chief here. And how did you come across this?
Yeah, so I am the founder and president of the Magnus Veterans Foundation, or MVF for short. And came up with this not on my own, but based on my experience taking care of Special Forces soldiers. So in the Army, or in the military in general, there's a Special Operations Command. They're the head over all Special Forces, and they came up with the Preservation of the Force and Family Initiative, which was designed to essentially keep our Special Forces soldiers and their families in the fight, because you can imagine after 20 years of sustained conflict that it started to take its toll, not only on our operators but also on their families. So my last job in the Army, I was the group surgeon, or the lead doctor for 5th Special Forces Group, the Special Forces Group responsible for the Middle East. So you can imagine we were fairly busy. And I spent the last 4 years implementing our version of the Preservation of the Force and Family, which is essentially a holistic, comprehensive approach to the patient and their family, physically, spiritually, socially, and psychologically. So I stood that up at 5th Special Forces Group, and I saw it work. I saw it put guys back in the fight. I saw it put families back together. And I knew that this was successful because I saw it. And I knew that once I retired from the military, which I did in 2019, that I wanted to bring this to veterans and their families because I saw how well it worked.
Mm-hmm. What is your responsibility in this chain of command? I mean, you're kind of like the head guy, so what do you do there?
Yeah, so I'm the president of the board, and so we have essentially oversight of the foundation, and we're in the process of standing up the Magnus Veterans Wellness Campus as well, because what the foundation is all about is bringing this approach, this holistic approach, physical, spiritual, social, psychological performance engagement to our communities. And we're starting here in Dayton, Minnesota. But ideally, the foundation goes on to help other communities do the same thing that we're doing here in Dayton, Minnesota. So essentially, we are the fundraising arm of this initiative, and then we support the wellness campuses as we develop them.
Mm-hmm. What was your driving force? What was your mental currency to make this happen?
I saw this work. I saw this work for our Special Forces soldiers and their families. I saw guys that were suffering significant issues, either physically or psychologically, get better, get back in the fight, get back together with their families. So I knew that I wanted to bring that to our veterans and their family members. And we decided to start this here in Dayton, Minnesota, because I'm a native Minnesotan. I was born in St. Louis Park, and then obviously spent 31 years in the Army, and now I'm back home. I'm also a graduate of St. John's University. So I knew that when I retired from the military, this is where I wanted to go because my entire family's here. And then specifically Dayton, because we had a 37-acre estate donated to the foundation in Dayton, Minnesota, right on Diamond Lake. It's beautiful, very palatial, serene estate. And that's where we're developing the Magnus Veterans Wellness Campus. So essentially, the main house will become a primary care clinic, and then we're going to have physical, spiritual, social, and psychological engagement areas throughout. And one of our main missions is to close the gap that exists between our veteran families and the communities that they went to war for. And we're going to be doing that in a variety of ways, namely bringing the community and the veteran families in the same area and allowing them to share their story. Because one of my mentors, Dr. Edward Tick, who wrote Restoring the Warrior Spirit, told me that the true healing occurs when the veteran shares their story and we all shoulder that story, as opposed to what happens right now, right? The veteran gets out, they're put into buckets. You're an amputee, you have anxiety, you have PTSD, and they're kind of left to shoulder that trauma alone. And so I asked Dr. Tick, I said, well, what does that look like, sharing the story? Is that open mic night? Because a lot of the guys I know would scare the heck out of people if they got up there and told their story. And he said, no, have them do plays. He said, Greek tragedies were created just for that purpose. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to essentially have the vet write the screenplay. We'll partner with local theater companies and have them put on that play in a very safe way where they share the story. We'll invite the community out. They'll bring their blankets, their wine, their cheese, sit down and receive that story in a very safe way, and then walk away with all of us shouldering that story. And so that's one example of the events we're going to have. We're also going to have movie night on the lawn, food truck night, and then every Saturday we'll be hosting a farmers market there as well, where we will sell veteran-made goods from the property there.
So this next question here is pretty straightforward. What does MVF need from the public? What do you want to get out?
First and foremost, awareness. Know that we're out there. Know that we are here for veterans, their families, and our communities. So if you know a veteran or a family member of a veteran, refer them to us, because we're interested in people that are focused on being the best version of themselves possible. That's why joining our practice, you can't pick and choose what you want. You have to commit, and everybody signs an oath to the physical, spiritual, social, and psychological performance domains that we have. So if you know a veteran or family member, refer them to us. Right now we are collecting names. We've got a waiting list going, and so go to our website, www.magnusveteransfoundation.org, or to our Facebook page, and there's a link there to sign up as a veteran or a veteran family member. And then for our community members out there looking for your support, we have plenty of opportunities for volunteerism at the estate, and we need donations. Our most popular fundraising line right now is sponsor a veteran or family member's membership with us, and that's $50 a month. We've got several organizations that have committed to $1,000 a month for 3 years, and we need a lot more. So if you're interested in sponsoring a veteran or a veteran family member, their membership in the campus, reach out to us. There's ways to contact us on both the website and the Facebook page.
Okay. Well, super duper. So now this last question, and it's, you have to understand that we got a lot of coverage, and there's a lot of people listening to this, especially in the higher government areas who don't want people to know you're listening, but they're still listening. What do you have to say to anyone in our government that needs help?
Yeah, one, I'd love to give you a tour. I give tours all the time. I've had a couple state senators out to the estate, and come walk the grounds with us. See what we're developing here. We need your support. We need you to help us get the word out. And just reach out to us, and love to give you a tour and walk the property.
All right, Sean. Outstanding. All right, you guys heard it. We're going to take a break. We're going to go to the next segment of this. But, Sean, thank you again very much for being out here today, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you.
For home and workplace comfort, we here at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning have over 30 years of residential and commercial experience in replacing, repairing, and doing general maintenance on your heating and cooling equipment. Call the experts at Dependable Heating and Air Conditioning. For all your indoor comfort needs, we are located in Coon Rapids and serve the entire Twin Cities area. Call one of our professional technicians today at 763-757-5040. That's Dependable Heating and Cooling. Again, 763-757-5040, Dependable Heating and Air. Okay, we are back here, and we are with Brad. Brad is with the Magnus Veterans Foundation, MVF. Brad, tell us a little about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. And so my name is Brad Nyland. I'm the executive director of the Magnus Veterans Foundation. And I just have a real long experience with nonprofits, and just excited to get this off the ground and moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And Brad, what is your role in this as far as day-to-day operations?
Yeah, so I'm the executive director, so which basically means I'm in charge of all of the operations that happen on our campus. So we've got a big estate, and we've got a lot of, obviously a lot of activities, but basically it's everything from fundraising to the operations to programming and that sort of thing.
Uh-huh. Brad, why join the MVF?
Yeah, so for me it was very personal. So going back, like with my dad, he was in Korea, and he never spoke about his experience in Korea. And he died about 12 years ago, and he's a Bronze Star holder. And I got just a little snippet of his experience one time when we were driving together. And anyway, so when I came across Sean, basically our founder and president, he spoke of something that just was a calling to me, and that was that to share the burden between the veterans and the community. And that was something that I think my dad would have really enjoyed, and it just made a connection for me.
It sounds like it did. Okay, Brad. How many employees do you have?
Yeah, so we have 2 full-time employees with the foundation. We have 2 contract employees as well. And so with that, then we also have the wellness campus, which we can talk about a little later, which is underneath the foundation.
Uh-huh. And will we talk about that in this episode, or what's your plan?
Yeah, I was hoping that you could talk with Dr. Isaac a little bit about how the wellness campus is going to fit. But in essence, the foundation is sort of the mothership, and then the wellness campus is basically the care element relationship between the two.
And he's coming up next, so we'll ask him that question. So let's move on to how many employees do you have there?
Yeah, we have just 2 full-time employees, and then we have 2 contract employees.
And how do you decide? How do you pick the people that work with you?
Well, that's a great question, and not an easy one. So just personally, I think you sort of have to. You can't just hire anybody to work in a nonprofit, and then of course within a nonprofit you've got certain elements that you look for, in my opinion, regarding the mission. And of course, when you're talking about the mission with a nonprofit, that's the driving force, the guide to the entire work that you're doing is the mission. And so you need people that really have that passion for the mission. And so I think that's the number one role of people that work for Magnus, is going to be that passion for the mission and how we can basically connect our veterans with our community.
And what do you have for upcoming events? What do you got? What's on the horizon for MVF?
Yeah, so we've got a great, wonderful future out in front of us. We are just literally getting off the ground. So we will start seeing patients, and again, our Dr. Isaac will talk about that on June 1st is when we're kicking that off. So it's coming up very quickly. In the meantime, we're basically going to be under construction for basically the month of half of March and perhaps all of April. So our first event is really going to be the National Day of Prayer, which is May 6th. It's a Thursday morning. We're going to hold an event at Magnus. It's going to be a COVID-friendly event. So we have a big enough estate where we can actually social distance and so forth. So that'll be our first event, quote-unquote event. We've got other events that we're going to be doing, such as dinners. Again, COVID-friendly until we get beyond that here, hopefully this summer. But on a larger scale, we've got concerts on the lawn that we've got coming up starting at the end of June. So basically every month in the summer, we will have concerts on the lawn out at Magnus. And everything that we do basically is going to be to promote and highlight our mission and then how it relates to the community or with veterans. And so I think, those are just a few of the events, but certainly if people go to our website, we're going to be updating that as we kind of get online. And of course, when we're in construction mode, we've got a lot of juggling going on, trying to get our other programming up and running. So,
in your opinion, what can people get out of this NPO? What can people see that they can help you with?
Yeah, so, with the nonprofit in general and very specifically with Magnus, there are lots of things that we need help with, especially when you've got a great big estate like we've got, to be able to sort of narrow down the scope and say, the ultimate mission of Magnus is to deliver care for our veterans and their families. But on a grander scale, it's really to make that connection between the community, between veterans and their families, to take the burden off them, share that burden, help shoulder that burden. Mm-hmm. And so when we're thinking about how people can engage or how people can become active or what have you, it's really about sharing the story, sharing the experience within Magnus. And that also goes with the political components of our U.S. reps, our United States senators, certainly our local politicians. They need to understand how important this is in the local area, not to mention in the city of Dayton. Mm-hmm. So we feel like we're really poised to literally do something that just isn't being done in the country.
It certainly isn't, and I'm glad, and thank you for coming in and telling us your story. It's unbelievable how this is happening, but yet it should have happened long ago.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
And one last question here before you go. What can you tell the people who are hearing this, and how can you get them in the door?
Yeah, well, good question. So it's really, sort of, I guess the follow-up with that would be, so we're talking about veterans and families in the door, so to speak. And so, it's really word of mouth. And then, of course, I believe this notion of success breeds success. And so as we're getting off the ground and launching, and we do have people on a waiting list at this point to join up. But it's something that, we can go up to 5,000 patients or members or clients, if you will, And so we've got a lot of growth to do, but clearly, as we go forward, we're going to be, we've got great people involved here. Mm-hmm. We've got, excellent professionalism, and it's going to be one step at a time, and it's going to be done right, and it's going to be done basically to deliver that care to these veterans.
That's awesome. That's very, very awesome. Okay. That wraps up the questions for that section. Brad, thank you very much. We're going to have the doctor come on next and give us his take on it. Brad, any last thoughts?
No, I just want to thank you. And if people would just like to get in touch with us, just go onto our website with MagnusVeteransFoundation.org. And we'd love to have you be a part of our mission.
Thank you for that. And we're going to come up next. We're taking a break. Thanks for HUTcast. Stand by. Now a word from our sponsors. Today's sponsor in part by Excel Roofing. Excel Roofing. They do it all. Roofs, siding, framing. You need a house? Give Excel a call. I've used these guys personally in the past. Have a professional crew. They're conscious of your job, and they want to produce the finest quality of craftsmanship available. Excel Roofing, 763-712-0757. Again, 763-712-0757. Excel Roofing, Dayton, Minnesota. Okay, we are back at HUTcast. We have Dr. Isaac. Dr. Isaac is the Magnus Veterans Foundation physician. And Dr. Isaac, introduce yourself.
Hello, yes, I'm Dr. Isaac Engholm, and I am a board-certified family medicine physician here in Minnesota.
Okay, and what's your role here at the Magnus Foundation?
So my role with the Magnus Veterans Foundation as medical director is really to ensure safe care is delivered to all of the patients that are enrolled in the program. So I will oversee the care delivery of primary care and ensure that any physical therapy or strength training or psychologic services, that all of those services are consistent with the Magnus Veterans Foundation mission, and that everything happens in a safe manner. And what are the responsibilities of this role? So the responsibilities in the very beginning are to coordinate all of these cares. So what makes Magnus unique is that there will be multiple modalities delivered under the same roof. For example, counseling, therapy services, as well as strength training or physical therapy. And so it'll be really early on, it'll be my job to ensure that those cares are dedicated to the veterans and their families, but also that it all makes sense in accordance to the mission, which is a whole person care. We also will have a spiritual director that will help with the whole person care. And so a part of my responsibility is to make sure that everybody that is delivering care to each member is on the same page and talking to one another, so that there is a holistic and complete comprehensive care plan developed that's unique to each patient.
Mm-hmm. And I asked Brad and Sean this, and I'll ask you as well. Why join MVF?
So, from a patient's perspective, the reason to join is that there is a community here that will be really unlike anything else. You know, a number of years ago, there's a guy, Friedrich Nietzsche, who said that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that idea has been disproven hundreds and hundreds of times. You can say it may be true for physical strength, but in terms of whole person care, it is absolutely a lie that what doesn't kill you only makes you stronger. In fact, it's been proven by the Department of Defense that serving in the military is very difficult. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it actually has a negative impact on people's psychological and mental and physical well-being, which is why we have so many programs that are really dedicated to resilience. Mm-hmm. Something that's interesting about resilience in the Department of Defense with active duty or reserve or guard members is that resilience has been proven to be a sum of two factors. The first factor being intelligent quotient, or IQ, which is not something that we can actually change. The government can't make people, the government can't change people's intelligence. You're basically born with an innate IQ, and that's just what you're given. There is a factor that is unrelated to that associated with resilience, and it is called belongingness. And the military found out that if a service member has a perceived sense of belonging in a community, it doesn't even really matter what the community is, so long as it's not a negative community. But if they have an innate sense of belonging, then their resilience is extraordinarily high. And I don't know if you know this, but the number one killer of active duty airmen in the United States today is not wartime casualties.
I mean, I know that.
It is suicide.
Oh, boy.
And the Department of Defense is working furiously to mitigate that. And right now, the only way to do that is to address belongingness. And that is why Magnus is going to work.
So let's ask a question here. When someone comes to your doorstep and they need that help, do you do an evaluation on them, or do you place them? Do you set them? What's the in of this?
For particular mental health, or to be a part of Magnus?
Both.
So if an individual comes to me as a provider, there are many resources for people that are suffering mental health issues. There are suicide hotlines in Minnesota and national hotlines. The quickest and easiest way is to call 911, and I always recommend that to my service members or non-service members, but anybody that's struggling. In terms of signing up with Magnus, just in general, the easiest way to do that is through the Magnus Veterans Foundation website.
Mm-hmm. And that website again is?
It is magnusveteransfoundation.org.
And do they have a phone number that these people can call?
Not currently.
Okay.
They are working on a line right now.
Okay, so best way to get a hold of these guys is jump on the web, look up MVF, Magnus Veterans Foundation, Dayton, Minnesota. Make sure you put that in there because there's a couple around the country, and you want to get to the right one, at least in your area. Next question here. Are you done with that answer last time?
Yes.
Okay. So the next question I got is, how many medical staff do you have at MVF?
So currently the medical staff is me. Okay. We are going live in a couple months. So I'm actively recruiting, which is a good reason for us to be on the air. So some of the medical staff that I will need are medical assistants or LPNs, nurse. Eventually, once we have more volume, then I will need other providers, whether that be physicians or nurse practitioners or physician's assistants. And what we would really like to see are people to donate their time. And we'll have a safe way to do that, to allow people to volunteer who have medical credentials, and that'll go through an appropriate credentialing system. But we will have some real basic staff in the meantime, some nursing staff, and then a board certified physician to take care of medical needs.
So your active target in the volunteers, do you recruit from the military? Are you recruiting from private industry? Where are your people coming from, and where would you like to see them come from?
So the best volunteer for Magnus is somebody that feels a calling to our mission for the medical component. Especially if they have a military background of some sort, or if they have a family member or a close friend, or if they have if that relationship is there, and if they understand the mission of Magnus and they can really comprehensively get it, then those are the people that we want to volunteer with us. And it doesn't mean you had to put in 20 years and wear a uniform and be overseas. But if you don't understand that, then it's going to be hard for you to understand the patients that we encounter every day.
Well, you heard them. They need help, and they need help now. So with this rollout they're going to do on their system and get this online, give them a call, Magnus Foundation in Dayton, Minnesota. Next question for you is, what kind of medical requirements do people need to work for you?
So each staff position will have to be credentialed appropriate to their position. So if it is a nurse, then they have to be credentialed in the state. If it is a physician, then they have to have a Minnesota license, an unrestricted active Minnesota license, and we'll go through a credentialing process. But MAs, everybody has to be able to pass a background check, and we will be doing state and federal background checks for everybody that volunteers for our program.
So basically, whatever your discipline as medicine is, that's what you got to be qualified in doing so.
Exactly.
Okay. And will there be more senior physicians on, or are we looking for...
Ideally, if we can get a broad scope of different types of providers, that would be wonderful. Initially, it'll be primary care, family medicine, or internal medicine, or pediatrics type of primary care. But if you're a psychiatrist and you'd like to donate some time, then I'd love to speak with you and talk about ways that we can work together. But certainly, if you're an experienced physician, is what we like to call them, and you'd like to donate some of your time, then we will be able to do that. And this is a perfect venue to practice and to serve the community here in Dayton, Minnesota.
You heard Dr. Isaac. If you have a PhD in psychology, medical, give him a call at Magnus Foundation. You can find him on the web at Magnus Foundation, MVF. And coming on to the next question here. So I asked everyone else, upcoming events, what do you see coming up?
So we already talked some about the prayer meeting next, or that's in a couple months. So I think that's going to be a great component to the spiritual pillar that we're setting up. The community events in June are going to be really building that foundation of belongingness and bridging the gap between the veteran and the community. So I think for the community to stay engaged with Magnus Veterans Foundation and to stay engaged with the activities is going to be important for the health of the families that we're going to take care of. Because if it's only families isolated in this, under this building, that's not enough, and that's not good enough, and that's and I think that our community can give more. I think we can do better as a community to give back to the men and women that have given so much to serve our country.
I see, and it's wonderful response, very, very heartfelt. Moving next question here. In your opinion, what can people get out of this NPO? And again, let me remind you, there are a lot of political people listening to this. Give us some direction. Tell us what these senators, tell us what these Congress people want to listen to. And with the listener base we have, it's a reach. So what's your opinion on that?
What is happening at Magnus Veterans Foundation with the Magnus Wellness Campus is so much bigger than just the veteran and their family, because what the foundation has done is reimagined healthcare delivered, and it's reimagined the way that a medical system can interact with the patient. The way it's doing it right now is it's actually cutting out third-party payers in the way that it's going to deliver its primary care, and so the foundation will just pay medical professionals directly, which is going to cut down immensely on costs, and it'll actually save the taxpayers a lot of money. And so I think that that's important to know, as well as the fact that the relationship will be central to the membership in this community. And what I mean by that is that the patients will have direct access to their physician. And so that means that they will be able to access their medical team directly instead of waiting, 3 to 7 business days through, complicated electronic medical records.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a much more direct relationship where they'll have, same day or next day access to their providers and to their physicians,
Sure.
which is absolutely essential today to take care of human beings, and as well as, our target demographic, which is veterans and their families.
Okay, and quick question about the VA. Do they sponsor this? Are they on page with this? What does the VA have to offer you, and have they offered anything to you?
So at this point, the wellness campus is not associated with the VA, and it is a completely independent practice, just like any other private practice would operate. In fact, we're not even really going to be taking any government funds yet. We haven't received any government grants. It's been almost 100% funded and sponsored by local people in the community, which is absolutely fantastic. Without government monies, without using taxpayer monies, all of this is happening, and which is just unbelievable. And that's where I think that this is such a fantastic story, is that we're not just another entity pulling government grants to do some other project, is that this is a community-driven medical wellness, whole person wellness project, because people want to engage veterans and their families and service members in a meaningful way.
Wow. Incredible amount of information there. But you wouldn't be opposed to having some federal funding.
So I'm not the I'm not the president of the foundation, but my guess is that he would give the thumbs up.
Well, he's sitting next to you. Is he shaking his head? Yes?
He's giving me a strong thumbs up to taking government funding. So.
Okay, so you government guys out there who are listening to this, he's got thumbs up. Let's let him have some. Okay, not to put you on the spot with that one, but we're all in the same studio, so we might as well get this message out. Okay, last question here. What can you tell the medical professionals who are hearing this right now? What can you tell them? What are the guidance? You've already covered the fact that you guys need help. Come and volunteer. What does this say at your heart to the other guys who actually do this for a living?
I would say to other medical professionals, especially doctors, physicians, I think we all need to reimagine how healthcare should be. And I think we need to reimagine what the doctor-patient relationship looks like. And I think we have to be okay with the fact that currently the way that we're doing things is not meaningful, and the relationship has been not front and center. And so I just want to reimagine a doctor-patient relationship in which I can spend 45 minutes or an hour or sometimes 90 minutes with the patient and not have an administrator angry with me because that time was not billable, or because I wasn't reimbursed from a third-party payer appropriately. I want to be able to sit down with the patient and spend the absolute necessary time with that patient to get to the heart of whatever the issues are, and then also to promote health, to promote well-being, to ensure that there's a care plan that is sustainable and long-lasting, to make that relationship the key component of the health care that's delivered, and start from there instead of right now, which is a very reactive system with all these ununderstandable parts that nobody really gets, but extremely expensive and has exorbitant costs.
You want to put the human back in medicine.
The patient needs to be central. And when we're not getting paid by the patient, when we're getting paid by insurance companies and third-party payers, we work for the insurance companies, and the insurance companies want us to spend 17 and a half minutes because that's the national average for primary care visits in the past year. And so that's not enough time. That's just not enough time to spend with our patients to understand what they truly need.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Incredible. So HUTCast is on a lot of military bases. Look at that individual who's listening to this right now, and what can you tell him if he's having issues?
So I can tell you that it is not easy being a service member, and I've been there. I flew with the 25th Fighter or Flying Training Squadron out of Vance Air Force Base, Shootem. I've had really wild experiences with my colleagues, some good and some not so good. I've been to memorial services. I can relate, and I've sat with medical professionals, psychological professionals for myself, and I've gone through that, and not because I wanted to, but because I needed to, and I had a great benefit myself, and I'll tell you, if you're struggling, you don't need to struggle by yourself. You can definitely get help from other people, and there are people that are ready to talk and ready to reach out and to grow that relationship with you, but they don't know unless you tell them. And so that is always the hardest part. It's always the hardest part to make that phone call or to pop into your medical facility. But if you don't, it can get bad, and you've seen it happen on many bases, and we don't need to do that. We don't need to let that become a normal for our service members.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was very, again, heartfelt. And a lot of people who are listening, take that step. Give them a call. Let them know. Look them up on the web and say, hey, maybe it's time I stop suffering alone. And Dr. Isaac, it wraps up about 20 minutes worth of sound here. Let's give them some passing words before we go. Anything you want to add?
This is so important. It is so important that we give back to our service members. And I know a lot of people have just been waiting for an opportunity like this. So please do not pass up this opportunity to give your time, your talents, or your finances.
Okay. Dr. Isaac, thank you very much on behalf of HUTCast and a lot of listeners. And we're going to go for a commercial break, and we'll do our rollout in the end. And thank you very much. I'd like to talk to you today about security, home security, business security. We here at POTFF Security care about your safety. We've been keeping honest people honest, we like to say, and give dishonest people something to think about for over 20 years. Not only provide high-tech security systems for your home and business, we also provide basic network and router management LAN and Wi-Fi for our residential customers. Support audio and video monitoring systems, card access, security systems, cellular phone amplifiers, home entertainment systems, and much, much more. We have experienced technicians that will design a system that will work for you. We are located in Osseo, Minnesota, and are waiting to design a system to meet all your specifications. That's right, POTFF Security. Give us a call, 763-493-2020. We are pro at keeping honest people honest. POTFF Security, 763-493-2020. POTFF Security Systems. And that's a wrap for HUTCast. HUTCast is, again, a pragmatic approach to seeing things how some people see them. If you like our show, give us a thumbs up on the Facebook site. Again, for HUTCast, thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.